Boom! And welcome to Thursday and the Nudelberg Daily Huddle as the iterations continue to happen. Excellent job, Shay. Love the new loading graphic and music as it comes in. Nice little start to the new show.
So gotta love, I mean, I did not ask, nor did you ask Shay to come up with something new on his own. He said, I got some new thoughts. And I, as I always do, I said, bring them, share them, open mind, always. And I was like, super cool. We have a new intro. So bada bingo, you know. So
really
shit.
Well done. Excellent job, Shay. And shout out to Chris White, who's coming to us from the Blue Ridge Mountains. I wonder where in those Blue Ridge Mountains you are. I'm familiar with those as well, but that's awesome. And I imagine it's very cold.
So Blue Ridge Mountains reminds me of like biscuits and honey. You know?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. No cell service. Just the nothing but the mountains and the outdoors all day long, and lots of really good Southern cooking.
So we're on this memory thing, and yesterday afternoon I was able to take the team. I don't know if you have the picture teed up or not, Shay, but it was super cool. I got to hang out with my friend Ken Kennerly. Ken now runs the Honda Classic, which, you know, is lore for us. That Friday before the Sunday, you know, win out is just the greatest day at the Bear Trap. So anyway, so got to hang out with him. You talk about memories, 1994, he represents Jack Nicklaus. I represent Coach Shula, and we're sitting in a room in Palm Beach trying to figure out how to put those two guys together. And when they came in the room, it was like nobody else said anything. It was just, you know, it was like, so it was great because we got through those stories yesterday. Jake and Shay were there, and he took off and went down those memories and started talking about stuff. And then Jake would say something, and he would look at Jake and he goes, "You're just like your father. You're just like your father." No surprise, just like your father. So anyway, shout out to, there he is, Mr. Ken Kennerly, who's doing an amazing job. He was super fun. We had a great lunch, great catching up, but we're in this memory thing. And when, you know, that brought me to a place that made me feel good, made me feel a little old to begin with.
I was going to say, like, you're talking about 1994. Do you know how old I was in 1994?
Tell us, man.
8 years old.
8 years old. So what was interesting is that you could have been at that meeting, right? You know,
yes.
I brought you to so many of those.
No doubt.
But it was just great. And I'm really stuck on this memory thing because Jake then posted something, which was a picture when we did a photo shoot on Hollywood Beach. And we were wearing jeans and white shirts, and the waves were coming up and knocking us over. I remember that exact day. He brought that up. And then my friend Angela reached out and said, "Oh my God, I remember those times." I don't know if you remember Angela. Her son played football, and anyway, just great memories, great stuff. And so the memories live on.
And part of our content today is going to be about memories. I'm going to throw it back to something that we experienced last year. Somebody who talked to us that gave us some lessons. So it's not going to be Throwback Thursday. It's going to be Throwback Tiki. We're going to get to that later. Before we get to that, we got great headlines to talk about. I think there's some crazy stuff happening out there that's worth talking about and seeing if we can pull some lessons out of it. Go ahead.
So I want Shay, instead of wake up music today, I want him to replay our entry so that our intro so that everybody can see it. Is that cool? Or play
go back to back. I can't not have wake up
intro and then wake up.
There you go. So go ahead. Let's go with the new intro, then wake up music, and then we're coming back.
Got it. I'll go back to back.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Come on! have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in there. No more back to thinking. Time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
Well, great stuff. Great job. We have a newbie. We have another newbie today. His name is Blake. Blake Strands. First time huddler. You never forget your first time, brother.
Welcome to the Huddle, Blake. And I think Devin knows Blake because Devin gave a comment like Blake, all exclamation points. So glad to have you in. Glad to hope you connect with other people within the Huddle. Obviously, everybody giving him a shout out to welcome him for his first time. Love having new members. I got one more shout out for you. I got to catch the beginning of Coffee with Kim yesterday. It was her first show of 2022. And wouldn't you know it, she had herself a little coffee intro. So it wasn't an actual song. It was like just a little bit of background music with a cup of coffee being poured. And so I gave her a shout out. I said, hey, love the intro. And she was like trying to get to the Huddle level. So good for her.
We were fortunate to have lunch with her when she was in town. And, you know, in addition to it was the first time we were in person together. She had real questions and I gave her real answers. That's what great dialogue should be, man. If you don't ask, you don't learn. So good for her. And I'm glad to see her doing it, man.
That's awesome. So without any further ado, we're going to get in some content today. We've got the famous segment, Huddle Headlines. Shay, give me the music.
Which is turn.
I almost feel like this is like the Weekend Update on SNL at this
It's
point.
so fun. Some of this shit you can't make up.
So I don't know how many of you have heard this story of Better.com CEO Vishal Garg, but he made the decision that he was going to take a few weeks off after firing 900 employees over a Zoom call. So
let's do what we do and reverse engineer that decision. You know, he's sitting in his office one day, he's with his direct reports, and he goes, I'm just going to fire everybody over a Zoom call.
Just get everybody on. And so this is like really mind blowing. And maybe I'll tell a story about getting fired after this as well. But the way he chose to do this was he pulled all 900 people onto the same Zoom call. And he opened it up by saying, if you're on this call, you are part of the unlucky group that is being laid off. And after that, there was a huge uproar. Obviously, several senior members of the team resigned. The mortgage lending company announced that it's recruiting a new chairman, as well as introducing a training program to build a respectful workplace, among other measures. So, number one, how to properly fire somebody is a great conversation that we can have, because
so that is something. I just had a conversation with the CEO that I was never good at. I never got to a place where I was, because the night before I was trembling and, it's just not a good thing to do unless you really know that you're putting somebody in a better position.
So this is the conversation. So number one, the way he did it was absolutely absurd.
Well, so it reminds me, that effort reminds me of George Costanza. You could just say you weren't on the call.
So quick story. I'm coaching at the University of Cincinnati. We have a great year. I come home for vacation, right? We end the season with a bowl loss to Virginia Tech in the Military Bowl, but it was a great year. We did really well on special teams. And then we get 2 weeks off. It's our only time off for basically the whole year that we get to just go be with our families, enjoy some free time. So I am in South Florida on the beach, enjoying a tequila, going in and out of the water, and just having a splendid time. When I come back from the water to my chair, I see on my phone, I have a missed call from the head coach. I'm like, can't be good. Why would the head coach be calling me on vacation? So I call him back, and he fired me over the phone while I was on vacation. Hey, Noodle, just want to let you know we're going in a different direction this year, and you're going to be part of that change. Like, wow. So completely rocked to my core. And there's so many other ways he could have done that. But as a part of being in sports, I fired people all the time, right? You had people in starting positions that was their role. And if you were going to make a change on the depth chart, you couldn't just make the change and post it and not communicate that to them, because that's tearing down the team, it's tearing down the individual and tearing everything apart. So it became about having conversations with people on why I had to make the change. That led me to the understanding that it could never be about me. It couldn't be about because of what I wanted, or it couldn't be about because of my opinions or my thoughts. It had to be about because I had given them the opportunities to do the things that were required of them, and they had proven that they weren't able to do it. And so I think when you go into these conversations about firing people, number one, you better have evidence. You better have some real-time examples of opportunities that you've afforded them and coaching that you've given them in order to get them to accomplish the things that you're trying to do. But the other part of that is saying, hey, look, I've asked you to do something repeatedly, offered you some resources to help you to be able to do it. You either can't or you won't do it. Let's figure out why. What is it about what you want to do? What is it about what you're passionate about? How can we help find a role for you within this organization, or maybe in another organization that fits you better? So like you said, making it about them and not you.
So it's a great conversation, one that, you know, I've learned over the course of my career. I've actually gotten better. In the beginning, it was about me. Like, what the hell's the matter with you? You're an idiot. You can't do it. And, you know, so always about, you know, me and letting me down or whatever. You identified with something really cool. So you're not getting this done. We need to get it done. What do you need? What resources do you need to get it done? I will pour into you all of the resources, time, money, training, whatever it is, to help you do this, but I can't do it. I need you to do it. And then it's a decision that they make. And I learned this from Gary Vee and Claude Silver, who, you know, I was fortunate enough to meet and go visit at Gary Vee's office. She's the chief heart officer for Gary's company. And so being in their office was great. They had a mentality. They said, listen, most organizations fire somebody and they immediately become the enemy of the organization. They go out bad mouthing it. You go to Glassdoor, what a jackass, what an asshole, whatever. That person, and this is unbelievable, but it's true, that person lands a great job. Like, you're like saying to yourself, how does that person get a job? I know they're not qualified, but they sold themselves into a new opportunity. They can either be your biggest fan or your biggest enemy. And so his mentality was, hey, listen, it's not a fit here, but I'm going to help you find a fit. And here's places to go and whatever. Adam Posner is one of those people.
Yep.
I don't know if you knew that.
He's got a great story about Gary Vee firing him. And that he's told that story a bunch of times. I've heard it. And the lessons he learned from that, about he was forcing himself into a role because he wasn't being honest with what he really wanted to do. And oh, wow, because Gary Vee was able to recognize that and have that conversation with him, it pushed him to go do his own thing, build his own recruiting firm, and have success. He's got his own personal brand. It does a great job with the podcast. Is a great show. So that to me is, it could be within your organization. Yeah. A lot of times we have people in roles that we think we have them in the right role because of what we put on them, our perception of what we think they should be. Too often we do that without having the communication of, what do you really want to do? What's important to you?
So there's a great lesson here. And that's why I love the topics that we get into. Everybody's talking about goal setting. It's the beginning of January. Jake freaked out. We went out for sushi last night and I saw someone I hadn't seen in a while. We bullshitted. And then as he was leaving, I said, hey, Happy New Year. And he was like, what's the matter with you? It's the 20th. Anyway, the idea for me, when I really got good at the managing the ship, I would say to people, hey, what's your goal for this year? They would give it to me first. Yep. Then I would say, hey, come here, let me talk to you. So here's your view of you. Here's my view of you. Why is there that disparity? But if I could coach you to do this, I want you to think about what that does to you. More money, more prestige, more time off, more, could you see yourself there? If you can, I can coach you up, which was, that's the root of firing, because if I'm coaching you and you're not taking the coaching and you stay stuck, hey, I tried, I did my best. You can't do this. That's not on me. I don't feel bad. I'm setting you free to go do what you're supposed to do with whoever you're supposed to do it. And God bless. Wish you the best. You need a reference. That's where it gets tricky. What I know an organization that we're currently working with where the VP of sales was the problem. He was the bottleneck, as I call it. And, the idea that, he was the problem. He left and opened up a coaching company. I'm like, if that's your journey. So if he calls me for a reference, I'm going to go, dude, you suck. You suck. You're damaging people's lives, and there's no barrier to entry. He hangs a shingle. I'm coaching. And that's why you got to be careful, man. You got to be real careful, because when people ask you for a recommendation on people that are gone, you got to be careful.
So so the other part of this firing conversation is the ownership of that, right? Is saying, look, like, either I've put you in the wrong place, or, we've had a miscommunication, but I believe I've tried to give you all the opportunities that I can, and it's just not a right fit. That ownership piece came up yesterday for me in a pitch meeting. I'm working with a potential client, and we're talking about, and that exact thing that you said about be careful who your coaches are. They're like, look, we've worked with a few other sales coaches already, and I can tell you that while their content was really good, we got no implementation, no adoption, and they weren't invested in us. He's like, so how do we avoid bringing you in and everybody having this vision of, oh, here comes another one, we're going to do this again, and have you be tuned out before we even get started?
It's amazing where our dialogues go, because we have unique dialogues with prospects and clients and whatever. And I'm in the midst of talking to somebody that wants to go, we want to do this. We want a 90-day program. And I'm like, pump the brakes. I go, the only way this works is if they buy in. Right. You can push it down. Don't mean shit. I said, so I suggest we do a 90-minute or a 2-hour gig. They either go, this guy's the greatest, man, we want more of that, and they're fired up pushing for it. Or, you know what? They sit there and they go, oh, we've seen it, we've heard it, and, we don't want to do it. If that happens, we don't belong there. I don't want to be there. I'll fire myself. And we've done that. I've said, hey, listen, it's not working. That happened with Toshiba. It's not working. They are not adopting the best practices. What's the point? I was getting up there after a while. I was exhausted. So how about that turn on firing? How about firing yourself? You fired yourself.
I love that. And then the ownership of, and so part of my, I kind of fired myself in the pitch meeting a little bit, because I was like, look, I can't overcome that. I was like, that's going to have to be on you guys. Like, you're going to have to stand up here in front of the people and say, hey guys, look, I know we've tried this before, but we're not going to stop trying until we get it right. And you're going to have that dialogue with them. And then I said, I'm not going to come in and just start spewing to them. I said, I'm going to have to figure out who they are, what makes them tick, and develop that relationship. Because if they don't trust me to allow me to develop them, then we're talking on dead ears anyway. And it's a moot point. So I can't do that for you guys. It was a really interesting conversation, because I think they were expecting me to come up with a solution for them. And I was like, guys, this is your responsibility. Here's my responsibility in it after. But if you don't own it first, we're just going to run around in circles.
So it's a classic example. I'm actually making a presentation today, which I'm excited. This company has hired me. Thermo Fisher has hired me a bunch of times to speak to different groups, and virtual made it work. But they have an issue that came to me. We have an issue. Can you solve the problem? So I've earned that trust with them. Tomorrow I speak to D&B Tile. It'll be the first time I'm getting to work with them. We've been talking for about a year, and I had a conversation with their VP sales. Oscar, if you're listening, fasten your seatbelt, because we're going to explode. But I said to him, I'm really excited about this because you're bought in. They watch you.
Right.
Most of the time, you get in there and management says, here's what we've done for you. Go do it. And then they go off doing nothing that even looks like that. And so you got to walk the walk. You know, one of the greatest things about, you know, the coaches we talk about, Nick Saban, there's no fucking middle ground. He's doing it. You know, this is how we are. This is how we operate. And I expect you to do the same. He's not asking anybody in that organization to do anything he wouldn't have done himself.
And that's the other point about firing, is that he's made it very clear what the expectation is.
Correct.
And I brought this up in a meeting that I was in yesterday because we were talking about how to create this standard of operating within an individual, within, you know, four walls. And I said, guys, you have to set the standard first. If nobody knows what's expected of them, then they can't ever reach that bar. But if everybody gets on the same page that this is what's expected, when people don't meet that expectation, it's not your fault. It's their fault. And you're able to then continue to coach them to say, if this is really what you want, if this is what the opportunity that you want, and these are the things you want to do, and here's what's expected of you in order to do that, and you're not doing that thing, I can't help you anymore. Yeah. I'm giving you everything I got to help you to get there. But at the end of the day, you have to do it.
Turnover is a part of the game. It's a part of sports.
It's necessary. It's necessary. It's a good thing.
Cleansing. It's a Jack Welch thing. Cut the bottom 20%. Watch how the rest of the organization pays attention, because, and this is the root of it all, the only way to change behavior is with consequences.
Correct.
If there's no consequence, you're going to get the same behavior with the, you know, like in the gym when we do shrugs. I don't know. But what are you going to do? I don't know. I don't know. You know, there are real consequences. Real consequences mean you're not going to be here. Go do that somewhere else. So it comes down to, what are you willing to tolerate as a leader? What you know, what expectations? You set clear, upfront expectations. There's no bullshit. In one of the press conferences that Nick Saban did, they were asking him why this guy wasn't starting. And he said,
what I talked. This is the exact press conference I brought up the other day.
He said, hey, listen, man, he knows what he needs to do. If he does what he needs to do, he's the starter. But I can't make him do that. I can't make him perform. You know, one of the things that Flores said, right, and this is, he had a big, you know, falling out with Tua, which is why he got fired. But on the way out, he said, I had a problem with the fact that on Mondays, Tua was playing golf.
Yep.
He's like, you're a rookie quarterback, man. You should be living in the film room.
Yep.
There's no golf. What's golf? You play golf in the offseason. You don't play golf now. That behavior does not produce the right results. Good for him. They made a choice, one over the other. So if somebody can question your work ethic, no one can ever question my work ethic.
Right.
Like, I am 7 chapters into your book, and God, if I didn't, you know, like, I'm so proud of you and me because of who I was to you. I mean, it's up to you. You know, it was like, well, this is I learned from my dad, and this is I watched my dad do this. I did it. I did the work. You can't take that away from me. So, you know, it's just amazing. So what is Paul saying? So many companies think the paid consulting fee transfers responsibility. That is an excellent point, is because we don't work there. We work with, not for.
Right.
And, you know, there is that responsibility. So crazy stuff. Yale Spectre, look who's in town. Yeah, we missed you. We were in town. We had lunch with Mr. Harity, Yale's wife. If you are not following Elaine Spectre, she is a leader, a thought leader about diversity. They are doing an amazing job. Yale, thanks for joining us. And you know what you tolerate is what will dominate.
I love it.
It gets in the bloodstream very, very much. Look at this, Mark. We went the entire show
talking about one headline. One Huddle headline.
So here's what I can promise you, because why not? Tomorrow, I have a couple of things that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to follow up with the tiki stuff because it was spot on. And I'm glad you brought it up. So nothing
goes Flashback Friday. We'll go Flashback Friday tomorrow.
Flashback Friday would be really good. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends, because
Mickey Carolyn got Wordle right today. Yeah.
What day you, Steve? What does that mean?
I think he said, "What say you, Steve?" I think
what say you? Here's what I say: 2 words. Sounds like truck off, because I'm not wasting my time in that game.
I love it. Go play a game. Go work your brain. Have a fantastic Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow for Friday. Let's get out of business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this.